Lonely Saturday afternoon, I thought I'd have a quick battle of Basic Impetus featuring my Feudal French and Feudal English armies, and maybe show you guys a little bit of the game. But yeah, it's been a while since I had a battle report up for Impetus at all, so this time we're going to try some Basic Impetus. Okay, the table hasn't been laid out yet, which I will show you as I progress. I got the French army over here deployed, and I'll show you them in a second, and the English army over there. And I'll be playing this solo, so I don't know if that's going to make any difference, but see what happens. Okay, let's get to the armies. Okay, here's the Feudal English. There's their 3T units, which are longbows. These are my Welsh dudes. We got a skirmish unit here, slingers, that's all I had. Behind them, I got 3 units of heavy foot. They don't have long spears, so no benefit for that, just heavy foot. And finally on the end there, I've got 2 units of heavy cav, which are knights. And the one furthest from the camera is my general. Okay, that's the English. Taking a look at the French forces, I've got 3 units of heavy cav, which are knights. The one in the middle, the blue and white striped flag, that will be the general. 2 units of spearmen, heavy foot. They have long spears. 1 unit of skirmishers on the end, armed with bow, and they decided to take the option of trading in 2 skirmish units for 1 crossbow unit, which are T troops, missile troops. So there they are. That's the French. Okay, now it's time to see who's the defender. Let's see, the French are adding +3, the English are adding +2 for their mounted troops. So here's the French, and they're 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12. 12 for the French, and the English get 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So the defender is the English, so they'll be choosing the terrain, laying it out. Alright folks, let's see what kind of table we come up with. Look at the English deployment. They have, on their left flank, they have some heavy cav, knights. Next to them is a unit of heavy foot, who are preceded by a unit of skirmishers armed with slings. Next to them is a unit of missile troops, armed with a longbow. And next to them is a large unit of heavy foot. Next to them on their flank is another unit of longbows and a second unit of longbows, missile troops. And bringing up the rear is the general, who is another heavy cav unit. Okay, that's the English deployment. And here's a look at the French, who are the attackers. Looking at their center formation, they have 2 units of long spear heavy infantry. Right here they have their general, preceded by a unit of skirmish bowmen. And next to them on the flank is their unit of mercenary crossbows, missile troops. And in some daring movements here, he has another unit of knights heavy cav over here on the other side of this wood. You can see where they're going to go. And the same kind of thing over here with the second unit of knights on the left wing. Again, you can see where they're going to go. So being a little bit risky here with the French, we'll have to see what happens. There's the look of the English. The next thing, okay, we'll look at some of the tactics we're going to be looking at for the French here. Pretty straightforward. Probably going to occupy that little area between the woods and the small hill with the main line, with the general in support, and see what happens with these flank attacks. We got a knight unit there, one on the other flank. They could do some damage. That could change the situation radically. So depending on what happens with them, that will determine what the middle will do. But otherwise, I think the center is going to advance and put as much pressure on the center of the English line as possible, while trying to envelop his flanks. So, yeah, we'll see how that works. For the English, on the other hand, I think pretty much play defensively. Got a nice reserve with the general there. I got a strong left flank with the knights. I got lots of longbows to cut down his advancing infantry and his knights if they decide to try and envelop me, which, hint, hint, I think they might. So I think what the English will do is advance, keeping that woods on the flank, and I don't know, maybe pull back the left flank a little bit to protect it from that unit up there of French knights. Basically, I'm going to try and whittle him down, wear him down in the middle while protecting the flanks, and we'll see what happens. If all goes well, I do have a strong reserve to punch through any holes that open up in his line. So, okay, I'm going a little bit defensive here with the English. Okay, folks, let's see what happens. Time to roll for initiative. Okay, let's get right on with this game and see what happens. Okay, in this game, red dice are the English, white dice are the French. So this is the initiative roll. See which side gets the first move. And it looks like it's going to be the English get the first move. Okay, folks, I'll be right back. I'll make the moves and show you what happened. All right, so it's the end of turn one. The English advanced, pretty much straightforward like I intended. They do have their one unit of knights on their left flank, kind of angled towards that woods, because there is French knights on the other side of that wood. The French in return made a general advance as well. There was no shooting, so let's go to the next turn and see what happens. Turn two. The English had it once again. They advanced. Shooting was completely ineffective. There's terrain in the way for one thing. These longbowmen could not see anyone to shoot at because of this hill. In addition, these longbowmen up here, totally ineffective fire, considering that they moved, so on and so forth, firing at foot. So yeah, the English didn't have much shooting going on, but you can see their movement so far, still generally advancing, still got their strong reserve. And the French also pretty much moving as they did the previous turn, shooting, if any, was ineffective, and the English do have their skirmish unit, slingers, way up here, advanced way out front, squaring off against the crossbowmen, mercenary crossbowmen of the French. So we'll see what happens with that. And the French center with the general, preceded by some skirmish bowmen, are making their advance on the enemy line. So we'll see what happens there. Okay, turn three is next. The end of turn three, and it was pretty bloody. Let me think. I believe the English had initiative again, so they went first. They really couldn't do anything. They made some shots with their slingers, which was totally ineffective against the French crossbows. They made some shots with their longbows, which was totally ineffective. That was about it. Adjusted themselves and so on. But the real story is the French, and they did some devastation. That's all I can say. The crossbowmen fired on those slingers up there, but that was totally ineffective, as you can see right here. They could have moved their knights further, but they didn't. They only seemed to be threatening the flank as opposed to assaulting it. Those guys up there. But the real story again is in the middle. Started down here, the general with his knights, penetrated his skirmishers ahead and made contact with the enemy longbows, the Welsh longbowmen, and these spearmen who were supporting the longbowmen. And he managed to defeat them. He routed the longbowmen and forced the spearmen to retreat, and pretty much that's where the attack stalled. His spearmen units advanced. One other thing. The net result of this was his general, his unit is now disordered with no permanent losses. This unit up here of heavy foot for the English is also disordered. That's about it, no permanent losses. But down here, this unit of heavy foot and this unit of heavy foot advanced. This one made contact with the Welsh longbows that had made it to this position up here on the hill, defeated them in combat, and routed them. That's as far as they got. And the knights over here, the French knights, charged the other unit of longbows that were sitting up on this hill, managed to defeat them 3 times and eventually routed them. They were tough, those longbowmen. Eventually, yeah, they defeated them, they routed them, and the French now are in possession of this hill. So that's the end of that. There goes my little flank there. So they have possession of the hill, and that's as far as the French knights got. They are disordered, no permanent losses. And as you can see, there's my longbows all en route, off the table. And there's my general in reserve. I'm going to have to see what I do next. So pretty interesting. The French assault was deadly. And on top of that, they still are fresh troops. There's knights. They're not worn yet. Haven't taken any permanent losses. So they still have their impetus bonus. Okay, folks. see what happens. We're going into turn 4. Okay, folks, that's the end of turn 4. This game is moving along pretty quick. And little hint over there is more English have run away on me. But anyway, English once again won initiative. I think that's every turn so far they have had initiative, but it doesn't seem to be helping them much at all. The only thing they did during their part of the turn was they did charge forward with their spearmen right up here on the flank of the French general, up here. But the result of that was that one of their units was routed by the French spearmen, as you can tell over there, having routed. So that was the result of that. So they're gone. That was a failed attempt at trying to secure some position of ground here or something. The French pretty much advanced their forces up. These guys here, these knights rallied. Over here, their infantry advanced and fought some more with my English spearmen. The French here, the general, his knight there, he did actually manage to rout the enemy heavy foot, English heavy foot he was fighting. They're gone. He didn't pursue too far. But he does have 2 hits on him, 2 permanent losses, and he's, of course, disordered. The French crossbows down here did actually do some damage to my slingers up there. They put a permanent loss on them and disordered them. The French skirmishers fell back. They were up here. They were the ones originally protecting the French general knights there, and they finally fell back here to this position. And of course up here on that critical English left flank, there's some action. I decided the English were going to make the move, try and get close to them. I took a chance at charging, got a d6 roll. I couldn't reach him. I was off by maybe 2 centimeters. I couldn't reach him, so I was disordered. Then when the French took their turn, he activated his knights, and he, of course, did make contact with mine. And they fought a little bit. The end result was his knights were disordered, didn't pursue very far, and mine took 3 permanent losses and were disordered. Okay, as far as the total demoralization value of the army, the English are at 5, 2 more, and they will rout from the field. When they reach 7, that's it. English, they're at 0. They haven't taken any losses. So that's it. Okay, folks, going to turn 5. See if I can turn this around for the English. Okay, folks, that's the end of turn 5. Let's see what happened. Once again, the English won initiative. I think every turn in the game they had initiative. It didn't seem to help them. And pretty much everything in the center and over here by this hill, nothing really happened. All the combats and melees were pretty much nothing. I did actually commit my general for the English. I basically charged his general in the middle there. They fought a little bit, but it was all just for nothing. I mean, there was no, couldn't get an edge on him. Could not force him to retreat. He couldn't force me to retreat. Pretty much a standstill for both of us during the turn. Same thing with the infantry right next to them. They pretty much fought to a standstill. Nothing really going on. I think that's pretty classic of impetus, because as your troops get worn and disordered and get into battle, they become less and less and less effective, and they just can't do shit. So, but it was surprising. I just charged with my general, the Feudal English, and boom, I couldn't do anything. But I did have the edge. I was only disordered. He was disordered and took 2 hits. But still, those French knights are awesome. Other than that, that's about it. But what told the battle was up there on that flank, up there by that woods. The little back and forth battle that was going on between the English and the French knights up there finally decided the fate of the English in the battle. The English, just out of desperation, made a charge, even though they had some permanent losses on their VBU and were disordered. They charged in. They couldn't do any damage, forced to retreat. The French countered during their turn and managed to rout the English knights. So that's where it happened. That's where it is. And that put the demoralization value of the English at 8, which they only needed to reach 7 and the game was over. They would have lost. So, game's over, my friends. Total, absolute French victory. They took no losses. And that's it. So yeah, that's the end of the game. It was pretty good. It didn't take long to play. It was pretty damn fun, as usual. As far as the tactics and strategies, I would say, well, for the English anyway, I made a couple mistakes. Number one, I tried to occupy that hill with my longbows, which was a mistake. I spent too much time moving when I should have just abandoned the hill to the enemy infantry and knights and just shot them to death with my longbows. The result was I don't even think I was able to shoot with any of those guys on this wing. And so I lost them quick. So that was a mistake the English made. A second mistake the English made, a minor one actually, is that I made a rules error. This unit right here was actually a large unit. And in Basic Impetus, the Feudal English cannot have large units. Neither can the French, actually. But so I deployed them wrong. But I fixed it into the game. It was no big issue. It didn't cause any problems. The front unit was eventually destroyed, and the second unit's still on the table right there. It just followed up and moved in. So it didn't really cause any grief. Yeah, all in all, I say the English shooting was pathetic. It really didn't do the wonders that it usually does for me. So that was that. I think as far as the French, I think they took advantage of my mistakes. They really took this hill position without any problem. They didn't have to suffer any losses, really, to the Welsh longbows, you know. Like I said, I spent too much time moving them instead of shooting. I expected more from my general. He could have turned the tide at the end, but I don't know. His men just weren't into it. They just could not do much. And that wing up there, of course, was the deciding spot of the battle. And yeah, my knights just were beaten. I got a little bit desperate with them, a little bit impatient, probably. I mean, the English left was actually pretty strong. You know, I was holding my position. But unfortunately, that was an advantage for the French because I was pinned. My guys were pinned, you know. I couldn't use them elsewhere in the battlefield. Yeah, that's pretty much what it was. It was a good game. Very intense, pretty fun. Again, try Basic Impetus, folks. It's a really fun game. Look at what's going on here. There's some nasty French knights. French infantry lined up against the English. And there, of course, is King Henry III himself. And just failed attack against the French. There's more French. And of course, the casualties. They all routed. So folks, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. It's a quick video, quick battle report. I'll do more of these. And definitely check out my How to Play series that I just started on Basic Impetus. And I hope you enjoy that too. Just check out my channel. It's on there. Any questions? Let me know. Anything about Impetus? Just feel free to ask. Okay, folks. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye-bye.